everybody, welcome to Brush Babies Pencil Pal Edition. My name is Nikki Millie and I am the artist and creator of Brush Babies and Pencil Pals. I am so excited to walk you through creating your very first pencil pal. We're going to work on the raccoon today. So let's get started. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create our background. We are going to use pencils, watercolor pencils, to do this. In your kit, you would have received a Kimberly watercolor pencil. It says it's yellow ochre. You also would have received the watercolor straw color, as well as a blue-gray and a black. So we are only going to use these very limited. To start, we're going to create a little bit of a background and we're going to put some color onto our raccoon to get us started, and then we're going to switch to colored pencil where we're going to fill in all the rest of the details. So I've given you a very limited palette to work with, and that's okay because you're learning, and that's probably the best way to start. First, we're going to start with our yellow ochre, and all we want to do is draw some yellow ochre. You don't have to press hard, just kind of fill in some yellow ochre down below our raccoon. What we're doing is we're just giving him some ground to kind of sit on. We're grounding him to the paper so he's not just floating in space. So go ahead and try not to make it too even. See how I'm varying, how I'm coming out from the raccoon, kind of like a little shadow. So let's add that, and then if you'd like, you can go in and add just a touch of blue-gray or something around that, like within it, but don't just cover the whole thing. So maybe a little shadow right underneath our raccoon, just to kind of hold him and create a little bit of a shadow right underneath where he is sitting. So just like that. Next, what we're going to do is take your round brush, get some clean water on it, and just dab it just a bit. Get some of the water off of your brush. Just kind of roll it gently on your paper towel. Then you can come down to your pencil, and as soon as you put some water to it, see how it activates it into a paint. So just kind of put in that, soften that yellow, soften that little shadow that's underneath the raccoon, and just kind of get that starting to move. See that? If you'd like, you can let it dry a little bit and add some more. If you don't want the gray to run too much into your yellow, clean your brush and go back to the yellow and touch the edges to soften these edges a little bit. Work your paintbrush back and forth along these edges just to soften them so they're not real hard. And that's just going to give us, see, like right here, I want to soften this up a little bit. Just kind of scrub this little edge here. Activate that, soften this, and just pull it right down the page here, right in the front. So that gives our little raccoon a little bit of a spot to sit on. Then you can take your straw color, if it's, well, it's still a little wet, and you can kind of go back right over this yellow, add a little bit of straw color. It'll deepen the yellow, it'll deepen up the gray a little bit, and then may have to press just a little bit harder because it's a lighter color, but if it's wet anywhere, it will automatically activate to paint when you touch it. So I'm just deepening right near my raccoon, nowhere else. I'm not taking it down off the page or anything. And then if you want, you can very softly go right above it. Right up here. And what we're going to do is very gently, we're using a very, very light pressure. We're going to pull this background up kind of around our raccoon and create our sky. So very gently, I'm just overlapping my strokes, just a sideways back and forth, going over this, bringing it up around my raccoon. I'm not going into my raccoon body at all. I'm just trying to create some atmosphere in the back, but I don't want it really, really dark. So kind of just gently going like this. There. And then we're going to take that gray and we're going to take that up above this color. Oh, right here. Almost forgot this part. Okay. So very, very gently with the gray, the blue gray. I don't want a lot. Just very soft. I'm going to put some of this in, and I'm going to overlap it just a bit onto the orange, or the straw color. So we're just creating a little background around our raccoon. Keeping your strokes close. We don't want a linear effect. So we're overlapping, but very softly adding these colors in. We can do this a couple times too, so if you don't get it quite right the first time, that's okay. You can go over it again. So I'm just kind of skimming the paper. I'm overlapping my strokes, I'm overlapping my straw color, a little bit here and there, bringing this color down. And then I'm going to go up above the head, creating the atmosphere for my pencil pail here, my raccoon. Very gently, just gliding over the paper. Okay. Once you feel like you've got enough on there, oh, got to do this side. Put some over here. Okay. Once you feel like you have enough on your paper, then you can wet your brush again and start adding that in. Make sure it's clean. Dab it on your paper towel. You can start at the bottom or at the top. And now we're just going to run it right over the edges, just like that. So right up to the fur. Bringing it down around the ears. And like I said, if you need to do it again, you can. Get some more water. Bringing it down the side of the raccoon. Down into the straw color. Right down into here. Does not have to be perfect because we are going to be coming back with colored pencil onto our raccoon and coloring him in, which will help. If we do go over onto his body, that will help hide any strokes that we might have put on him from the paint. So really not a big deal. Okay, so there we go. Now, if you want to do this again, you can. What I'm going to do is I'm going to now put some straw above and some of the blue, darker blue down here, and then, or gray, I mean, and then get it a little darker and work my way that way. So I'm going to take my straw color. I'm going to put some up here. Not everywhere, but some places. And over here. So I'm just adding a little more color and depth to it. And I'm going to put some more down here because it didn't really take down here. So, a little darker. I'm using a little more pressure this time because it's a very, very light color. So, bringing this in right here. Again, overlapping my strokes. Adding some here. So, just like that. Add a little more. Put some up here in this corner. Yeah. Okay. Now I can take my water again. I'm probably going to have an issue right there. It's a little dark. So let's see what happens. I'll spread this around. See what we can get. Bring this over. Soften these edges. I can soften the edges a bit by kind of scrubbing back and forth with my brush. The straw is mixing a bit with the gray and creating a little bit of green, which is fine. I'm okay with that. The more you rub it, the more you work it, it'll mix more, create more of a green. So if you just want it to be subtle, just put some water over it and be done. Let it go. Put some up here. Get this going. Right there. 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 So we just got a little bit of a background going on our little raccoon. Now the other thing we're going to do with our colored pencil is we are going to go ahead and start to add some gray to our actual raccoon. So, and some black. Just to help kind of fill some of the body in so that we are not spending a lot of time using the colored pencils, because colored pencil can really take some time. So here I'm just using the blue-gray right under the neck because I want a shadow. So I've got it pretty dark, but as I come down, I am, and again, we're going to go over this again with pencil. So this can be kind of scrubby, if that makes sense. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. But as I come down, I'm not putting as many layers on. I'm not making it as dark, because what I want is for it, and I'm kind of giving this furry look, because what I want is for it to kind of go to a nice gradient down here, because we're going to use some grays down here. So I'm just kind of coming around, getting the body kind of outlined in like that. Just getting some color on. Very light. Some of this is going to move when we wet it too, so I don't have to fill it all in real heavy. Okay, so just get some of this body in. This bottom half is going to be some grays, maybe some whites later if we have room. I'll show you how to get little specks of white. Okay, and then the tail is going to be every other color, but I want to use black there. But I do want to put some, there's going to be black here. I do want to get some gray kind of up on this forehead. Get some of this in. So just kind of put some of this blue-gray in. He is so adorable. Love this little guy. Coming down his stripe there is going to be black, so I don't really need to put a lot. So we've got some gray there. We'll put just this bluish gray in the ears, but not all of it. Keep some white there. Okay, like that. This is going to be black. This is white, but we can put some gray here. just a bit, and maybe here, going up here, because this is also going to be black. And then I am going to put just a little bit here to kind of create a shadow in here. But a lot of this, again, we're going to do a lot of this with pencil, colored pencils. Okay, so then the tail, if you want, you can just layer in a little bit of this color here, but it's every other one. So that's white, then this one, white, and then this one, this guy, and then white again. Okay, so there, we've got some of that. All right, so now we can go to our black, and we can put some black in here. I'm going to keep it a little darker right here at the line, the ridge, the nose, because that'll be the darkest. And we're going to darken this up with colored pencil too. This is just to kind of get some color onto our little guy here just quickly. This is quickly. Okay, we're going to get some pencil in here. This is all black. Make sure you don't go into the white of the eye here. So we're going to go right around the eye on both sides, right around the eye. Okay. Yeah, keep this white here. Okay. And we're going to start to fill this in. Again, I don't need a ton of it. So it's just something to kind of get me started. A lot of the detail will go in with the colored pencil. So there will be a part here where it's going to kind of look a little ugly, and that's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay, by the time we're done, it won't. Let's see, where else? So I do want some black up here on that side. Kind of coming around. And here. And around this way. And this way. Okay. I think that's pretty good. We're going to do the eyes in colored pencils, so we don't need to do anything with that. I'm going to bring this kind of around like that. I think this is white. That's white. Okay, that should be good. We will put just a little bit of color on the feet here, on the front. Oh yeah, and we do want just a little bit of black here to kind of help give that some depth. So this kind of sits back there, and then I am going to pop some black in right under the chin to kind of create that shadow. And then the tail, I do want some black on the tail. Even though I have the gray, I want both. I want some black on here. So not a whole lot. I don't need a ton of it. Kind of like that. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's grab our round brush. Make sure it's clean. So rinse it. Just dab it a little bit, and then just start going in here and wetting this and moving it around. It's going to look a little blue, but that's okay, because like I said, we are going to use the colored pencils to fill a lot of this in. This is just to help get rid of some of that white, just to tone down, making the project just a bit faster. Taking some of the edge off, because we could do colored pencil for a long time, even on something this small. So this just kind of helps us activate some of that. Just kind of going around. It already looks cute. Let's do this. Get this. I want these two to kind of play together. So kind of mixing the black up. Clean it off. Dab it just a bit. Come around this side. And we'll do around the eyes here. His little mask. So adorable. Do right here. Really is cute. I'm going to pull a couple little furs out here. What do I mean by that? So I'm just using the edge of my brush and kind of leaving some of these wet spots. See, I'm just kind of scribbling a little bit with it. Here's some gray in here. Bring that up. Clean off my brush again. I'm just dabbing a little bit. We'll come down here. I want to keep that black around this little ridge because I want that shadow there. Create this gray, this gray leg, a little bit of gray in here, but I want to keep that white, so I don't want to take all of the space up. And then just around the outside here of the ears, and again just kind of giving it that fuzzy look. Doesn't have to be perfect yet, because we're just kind of getting some colors in. See? Adorable. Oh, we forgot the little legs. Let's put those in. A little black down here, a little gray. Put that in right along the little toes. Okay. Okay, now we are going to let that dry, and we're going to go in with our colored pencil. You can pause me and let it air dry for a few minutes, or you can use a blow dryer and blow dry it. And then when you come back, we will go into the actual pencil and really start to bring our raccoon to life. All right, see you soon. Thanks. Now we have our pencil pail all dry. And you may notice that your pencil pail maybe got a little crinkly from the water. That happens because we're working on 140-pound hot press watercolor paper. So when you add water to it, the weight of the paper isn't real heavy, so it tends to buckle. You can just take it and kind of roll it out a little bit, just so it kind of sits a little bit more even. And when we're all done, I'll show you if it's really, really crinkly. Like if you use just a lot of water on it, I'll show you how we can flatten it out. So just do that, just so we can work on it. We're not going to be using the watercolor pencils anymore. We're going to be switching to our colored pencils now. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to work on the eye. Now everything we do with colored pencil and on this particular raccoon is very light touch. We're going to layer our raccoon. So we're going to build color and build depth by layering. So if you go in and you press really hard right away, it's going to be very difficult to get more layers on there because you're going to create, you're going to mush down the tooth of the paper, and we're already on a smooth tooth, so it's already kind of, we're already limited in the layers that we can put on. So if you press too hard and you smush down the tooth too much, it's going to be hard to get more layers on it to build that depth. So remember, soft touch. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take, you all should have received this beautiful violet blue pencil. I just love this pencil. We're going to start the eye with that. So we're just going to, this inner eye here, we're going to outline it in the violet. Whoop, that's okay. A little too much of a point. We're going to outline the inner eye. Come down here, just like so. We want them to be nice circles, so even them out however you have to. And don't color in the little circle. Okay, outline that. That is to keep the little, it makes the eye look like it has some moisture, which gives it a realistic look. Even though we're creating little characters, we still want them to look somewhat realistic. So now I can even that eye out, just like that. little more circular. So just like that. Now lightly, just kind of fill that eye in. Not real heavy, right underneath here, in the bottom here. Just kind of go around right in here. Very light, lay some of that beautiful violet color in here. We're going to switch to our sienna brown. This one, sienna brown. And we're going to put a little bit of brown in the eye. Again, light touch. Just right over the blue purple, the violet blue. Okay. Don't cover the little circle, keep that white. I'm putting a little bit more pressure on this sienna brown, probably a 2. Still light, but just slight more pressure. So we're just trying to layer some colors in here. All right, so there we go. Really, really cute. Okay, keeping that little area white. Now we are going to go to our black right here. Now we are going to outline the outside of those eyes that we created. If your pencil tip breaks, that's okay. I am using a little more pressure. I do want the outline to be dark. Nice dark black. Okay. So probably at a 3 or a 4 pressure right now, just the outline. All right, there we go. And then what I'm going to do is right around the outside. Now I'm going back to a lighter pressure, little circles, keeping them tight. And I'm working my way in from the outside of the eye towards the little white spot. As I'm working towards the white spot, I'm lightening my touch. So I'm lightening my touch, and I am not bringing my circles so close together. Why am I doing this? I want the eye to look like a sphere, like it's round. So I'm trying to create depth. So I want it darker around the edges. And then where the light hits, I want it to be lighter. So as we come toward the middle of the eye, I want it to be lighter in color. I'm basically creating a gradient. So dark around the edges, lighter towards the center. Take your time. Don't rush. See how that's creating that sense of roundness? And I'm going to do that all the way around my raccoon's eye, on both sides. Okay, there we go. That's really cute. Couple of things to note. If your white areas right here on each side become too small, don't worry about it. We can fix that. So let's just keep moving. Don't panic. If you need to sharpen your pencil, take a moment and sharpen your black pencil. We're going to outline the outer part of the eye. So nice sharp pencil. And now we're going to outline this part. Take your time. Nice and dark. There. And do each side. With that black, we're going to very softly, we're going to start to create some fur around that. So what I'm doing is I'm putting my pencil point on the edge that we just created, and I'm using that stroke you learned earlier. Very short strokes where I'm in the dark part and then lifting up. And I'm kind of creating a fur look, a fur texture. So I'm going around the eye in this direction because that's how the fur would on my raccoon. This is not realistic, but if it were a realistic raccoon, I would check the reference photo and make sure I'm going in the direction of the fur. But for my creation, we are just kind of coming off of this circle, going around the eye, and that's how I'm creating this fur look. So just kind of around the eye like that. I'm keeping my strokes close together. I'm not varying them in distance so it doesn't look like little lines. I'm just keeping them close together, using a light touch because we're going to use a couple different colors on here, and I'm just starting to create that perimeter around the eye, softening it, starting to make it look like there's a little bit of fur there. Okay, so on this side I'm going the other way. I'm not going this way, I'm going this way. And then as I come up the center here, I'm kind of stroking it straight up and down. Okay, so we can go right up this area, same thing, little strokes, lifting my pencil because I want that nice tapered line, that tapered edge. So I start there, and as I'm going off the page, as I'm coming up around, I'm lifting off of the page to create very delicate fur, or the look of it. Okay, so just like that. Now I'm going to come back this way and do it over here, and come around this way. Again, light pressure. I'm not using a lot of pressure. We're going to layer these colors in to create depth. Coming around the eye, going up this way, and I want to create these the fur coming off this way now. Make it look like there's black and white fur mingling here. Okay, just like that. Now here I'm going to bring my strokes this way around the eye, and I want my strokes to kind of come this way and then up, just because that's the way I designed it. Again, I am lifting off of the paper. So just do that on both sides. Once you do this side the same exact way. The fur will go in the same direction, like that. I'll come up here, come this way, and just remember to lift that pencil. I'm going to come up into here. And then we're going to go this way and straight. Okay. All right, so just from doing that little bit, he's already starting to look fuzzy and cute. So now, if you need to sharpen your pencil again, go ahead. We're going to work around the ears. So the first thing we're going to do, again, small strokes. We'll start here and we're going to work our way out and up. So again, I'm overlapping. I'm letting these little hairs kind of come off the outside of the ear and come into here like that. Okay, creating little wispy fur. See how adding some of that watercolor pencil helped to kind of fill some of this white of the paper, so it doesn't quite take us as long as if we were just doing it all in colored pencil. So this side we're going to come out this way. Again, I am lifting my pencil up off of the ground, off of the paper, to create wispy fur. I also want to come in this way. I'm kind of making him look a little scraggly because he's a wild critter. So we don't want him to be too perfect, his hair to be too groomed. Once you do this side, you can go ahead and do the other side. Okay, once we have that done, we are going to switch to our warm gray 30. So this one, warm gray 30. And what we're going to do is we're going to start to fill in where we have that grayish blue color. We're going to start putting some warm gray. So again, light pressure. We can start here. Bring this right down into the black, just like that. Okay. Then we're going to work up around the head here. Now you notice I'm making my strokes a little longer coming off the side here because I want him to look furry. I don't want to go in the white area, so I'm just going up near the ear, right in here. Okay. And then right up in here, again, same stroke, putting my pencil down, lifting up, coming up around the head area here. And my strokes are kind of, this fur is just kind of a little bit all over. So right now I'm coming up into the ear that way. I'm kind of bringing my fur straight up this way, my strokes, kind of getting the feel of the direction. This one's going to come right off like that. Some nice bigger pieces here. Again, light touch because we're going to layer our colors in. So I'm coming around the head. You can have some hairs going this way if you want. Coming back this way because he is a wild critter. He doesn't have to have perfectly combed and groomed hair or fur. And then we're going to come around this ear and bring our strokes right up into here, right up into this spot. And then down around this side. And again, I want these nice longer strokes here. Make him look nice and fuzzy. Okay. Just like that. This, now see here how this looks really, really blocky, like even. All you have to do is kind of go back and put some random strokes in there to soften that up. Part of that is the paint underneath. Okay, now we're going to start here and do this working our way up and around. So some longer strokes here. I'm keeping a light touch. I'm going to come around the edge, and what I'm doing now is just building up the head. So we're going to come this way. You can come into the white a little bit like that. Same with this side. I'm going to kind of come up, puncture down into the white area, and I'm going to come around this way. Again, random strokes, different ways because it's a wild critter. And then we're just going to kind of fill in the head, keeping our strokes light. I'm not necessarily lifting off the page right now because I don't need a super tapered look at this point. Usually I like to get that around the edges, but it's habit, so I am kind of doing it. But I'm just kind of randomly putting these in. They're all going up and kind of straight up and over a little bit, but they are kind of going in different directions. If you have too many gaps in here, go back and add some more fur lines. Okay, very cute. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add this gray into this area here from before. So we're going to, I got to sharpen my pencil. Okay. And we are going to go into here and we're going to put these furs this way. So we're building up this area now and go right into your black. Just like that. And then I'll do the other side the same way. We've got this adorable little raccoon. We've got the ears, some color on the face. Let's do right above here, the little muzzle area. So let's switch back to our, actually, let me think about this. Yeah, let's go back to our warm gray, 30%. Okay, and we're just going to put our little furs in here. So again, same strokes, just overlapping. Put them right in here, lifting your pencil, and as you come around, go right into the white area here, right, and put a couple random strokes, kind of break that line, break that white area just a bit, and we're still going up and kind of over, and then right above the nose here, we're going directly upward, going over to the right side now, just putting our little strokes in right up near the eye, and then stacking them straight up on top of each other, going right up this nose, just random, getting some texture in there, just like that, trying to make it look like fur. You don't have to cover your lines yet. We'll get there, okay? We're going to do that. Now, let's go right up the middle here. So you can start down in the black, not a problem, because we're going to go over that again with another color. So I'm taking my strokes, I'm breaking that line again, going right up into that white spot, that white fur. I'm varying my strokes, different lengths, different going in different, a little bit slightly different directions, not too crazy, because it is, the fur is going straight, growing straight up the nose, but I don't want them all perfect either. Remember, it's a wild animal, so they're not going to have perfect fur. So still doing it kind of light, using a 1 or 2 pressure, just putting some color in. Okay, so pretty cute. Now we can head right down into the body. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to start here at this leg. We're going to take our strokes upward and just kind of lay in that body color. We're still using warm gray, keeping our strokes random, going right up over into here, and just do this body area. Okay, we're going to head right up to the neck. You can go right up into that black area, not a problem. Break the lines outside of the body, make some random fur patterns. I'm actually stroking downward now outside the body, and up here I'm going up and over, coming down around the tail. And my strokes around the tail are coming downward, and they're getting a little longer. Strokes, the fur on the body is a little bit longer. So right here I'm kind of going up and over, And then I'm going to follow that same pattern inside this leg area, this hind leg. Okay, so go ahead and fill in the whole body with some warm gray, keeping your first strokes similar to the way you're going, but you can vary it up a bit. That's not a big deal. So as I come down around the bottom of the body, I'm reversing my strokes downward, just kind of trying to make sense out of, just giving it a little bit of a pattern without being too predictable. Just go with your instinct. We're not working from a photo or a reference, so we're just kind of creating our fur texture on our critter, so it's not vital. I just want him to look fluffy and cute. That's my end goal. It makes sense. Our brain wants to make sense of it, right? So now for the tail, same thing. What I want to do is just take my warm gray and just start to create that texture on the tail. I'm breaking the lines, the perimeter, creating some fuzz, and I'm breaking down into the white sections. I'm using warm gray. I'm just getting that texture going, lifting my pencil and keeping my strokes random in size, in length, density. I don't want them all perfect. I call it little soldiers. Don't want them all standing up like little soldiers in a line. They should overlap, be a little sporadic, random. All right, perfect. So now we've got some fur on our raccoon all over. Now we're going to switch back to our violet blue. And well, first let's take our powder blue, this one. Okay. In this little spot on the nose, go ahead and put that powder blue in the tiny little white spot. This is just a highlight, so I want to keep that a light blue. Now switch to your violet blue and go ahead and pencil in the nose like we did the eyes. Straighten out whatever lines you need to so it looks even. Take your time, outline the nose, and then we're gonna very lightly, we don't need a lot of pressure, using a wand, just put some of that violet blue in, go around the little highlight we just put in, and just small circles, very light, using our one pressure. I'm just putting in some violet blue. I'm giving it some, I'm like underpainting it, giving it a little color. So when we put the black on, it's not just flat. Okay? Now, if you'd like, you can also go right back up into the eyes, start in the black, add a little more pressure, just small circles. Go ahead and add some more depth to that black that we put in. And as you come towards the center of the eye, lighten your pressure or spread out your strokes so they're not so dense. So we still want to keep this highlight in here, in this part of the eye, but I want to add some color. I don't want it just to be a flat black. when I do eyes, I'm often kind of revising them as I create my animals. So to me, eyes are never really done until the whole picture is finished. I always go back and add some depth to them. So I keep my strokes light. I don't put a lot of pressure down because I want to be able to continually add color. So you can kind of see how that's added some depth to the, it's changed it from this kind of gray look to this warmer, and not warmer, but yeah, I guess warmer with the color. Even though it's not a warm color, it's warmed up his eye a little bit. I'll do the other side the same way. So I'll go in here, add some more violet blue. Whoops, I'll show you how to fix that. Adding some violet blue. I'm not using heavy pressure, just keeping my circles close together down here, a little more dense around the perimeter of the eye because it's darker. And as I come towards the middle of the eye, I'm definitely lightening my hand and not making the circles so close together, not as dense, because I want to keep that highlight going. I'm kind of glazing it. There. So we got a little more depth in the eyes. If you'd like, while we have the violet blue, you can go ahead right in the center of the nose here and just add some violet blue strokes right down here at the bottom. We'll give him a little bit of fur here and start heading right up the nose. This little stripe. Just like that, keeping them random, same process. I am using about a pressure 2. And as I come up the nose, again, I don't want it as dense. I want it to be lighter because we're going for that gradient look. So I'm lightening my pressure, and I'm spacing out my fur strokes now so they're not as close together as I come up this nose. Just a little bit. And my pressure is going to like a 1 to barely touching the paper as I get up here. Just kind of really skimming the paper at the top there. But see how that adds some depth there? And it adds a little bit of color. You can do the same thing at the neck area. So we can kind of keep it close, keep it a little more dense here. As we come around towards the bottom of the body, we lighten the pressure because this is a shadow. We're creating a little shadow right there under the chin. So, and just adding a little fur texture and color. So I'm not going all the way out to the sides here. I'm kind of coming down the center, almost making it like another stripe that's down here in the bottom, kind of following this pattern. But you can do whatever you want. You don't even have to add this if you don't want to on your raccoon. I just like to give it a little more depth. As I come down into the body, I'm, again, lighter strokes, not getting them as close together. They're not as dense, and I'm spreading them out more, as if the fur is, it's like a gradient. If you find you're getting like a hard line where you can see where it just stops, you can almost see that here. Just slightly break that, just very light. Come down and kind of spread it out a little bit. Very light. Just soften it. There. Doesn't have to be perfect yet because we're going to add more layers. So don't worry about it. Okay. So now I'm going to add a little bit of brown to my raccoon. I'm taking my light umber, and right here at the nose, I'm going to add some light umber. And I'm kind of coming down. I'm not adding it to the whole thing. I'm just kind of creating this triangle. So it's kind of coming down to a point at the nose. And as it comes up, I'm adding that brown, the strokes, like that. I also want to add a little brown to the tip of the tail. So right up here, I'm just making my strokes a little longer, making sure it looks nice and fuzzy, and I'm adding that brown right to the tip. And I'm not going to worry about bringing it all the way down because I'm going to be adding black. I just want it right on the tip there. And I'm going to put a little brown on the inside of his legs, like that. I'm creating a little bit of a shadow. So I put a darker line here, kind of outlining it, and down here this toe, and this toe, right at the bottom here. But then the rest I'm very lightly coloring in, and then we're going to go over that later with white to lighten it up. So then we're keeping the shadows on this side of our raccoon mostly, so now I'm going to do this side of the foot. And again, I'm going to create a little toe. These almost look a little bit like chicken toes, but that's okay. It's just a little critter. And then I'm just lightly coloring in his little toes there. We're just giving a hint of feet. It doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and now I'm going to put some brown in the ears, just to warm them up a bit. So just right in here, right where this white line is, I'm just going to break some brown into this gray. We are going to cover this brown with some black, so don't worry too much about it. I'm just giving it a little depth. So just put a little brown in there. Super, super cute. Just warming up that white a little bit. I am using a little more pressure with my light umber because it's a lighter color, so probably about a 3 are my strokes. I'm still lifting my pencil, still keeping them random, not trying to keep them too orderly, kind of all over like that. Need to go back and beef them up a little bit. Go ahead. These are our layers. This is how we're layering in our colors. All right, very cute. If you want to add a little more brown in here, a little darker, because it's kind of getting lost with the violet blue, go ahead and do that. I am using more pressure here, not a 4 or 5, just maybe a 3. There, really cute. Okay, now we are going to switch to our sienna brown, which is a little redder and a tad darker. Our light umber is a little more yellow colored. So now we're going to go to sienna brown. We're going to go right over our light umber randomly. Just kind of darken it up, warm it up with this kind of more red brown color. So we're just going to do the same thing over the spots that we just did, keeping it random. Do the nose. Don't worry about the legs, and then the tail. So cute. He is really adorable. There. We're going to come back to our sienna, but not right now. We're going to go back to our dark gray, which is our 90% gray, warm gray. If you need to sharpen it, this is the time to sharpen it. Okay, get a nice point on it, and we're just going to fluff out some of this lighter warm gray. We're not going to cover it all though. So what we want to do again is create depth. So we want to create like a roundness to the head. So down in here, this goes from it's going to go from black to this. This is like well, it's a pretty dark gray, but we're going to say it's a mid-tone. So we're going to go from black to this mid-tone gray, and then just kind of off into the around the eyes just a little bit. And then we're going to let this warm gray, the 30% in here, kind of stay. So let's start there. We can go right down into the dark because we're going to cover that in black. So it's okay if we just start our strokes down there. I'm doing the same strokes, same process, lifting my pencil. I've got a nice sharp point. I don't need a lot of pressure. I'm still not putting a lot of pressure down on my paper. And I'm just, as I come up, I'm just kind of glazing the paper. I don't want it to be super dark. I don't want this to be one solid color. We're trying to create like that softness, that gradient. So as I come up, I'm putting my strokes out further apart, just kind of blending this in with the light gray. But I definitely want his stripe to be darker than the rest of his head. So pushing through that white area on each side, making it fuzzy. Just kind of going up and down, just like that. Now as I come up here, I'm definitely not using as much pressure. I am following my pattern here, so I'm coming up. My strokes over here are going to the right and kind of coming around. Over here they're coming to the left. But I don't want to just cover this whole area. So I just got to keep watching and add my my mid-tone here. So we've got black is going to be our darkest, this warm gray, and our whites are going to be, well, the white is our lightest. Then the warm gray is a mid-tone, and this 90% warm gray is also a mid-tone. So we're like connecting the real light gray with the black using the 90%, if that makes sense. So we don't have any hard lines because it's fur. It's soft and sweet. So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to kind of connect this little stripe here, but I'm not pressing hard. I don't want to make it black. So just kind of going right up into the forehead and then stopping like that. See how we're getting that little gradient? So it's dark here, it goes to like a mid-tone, and then it's going to light. That's the goal. So I'm going to kind of come around the eye area here, add a little more color to my warm gray. But I don't want it black, I just want it this nice mid-tone color. This 90%. And following my strokes, I'm heading more towards my left here as I come into this ear area. Now as we get closer to this ear here, this line, you can go ahead and darken that up a little bit because we've got a lot going on in that area. So there would be shadows happening because of the ear connecting there, and it will be slightly darker than the rest. So it's okay to go ahead and add some of that 90% gray in this area. I'm going to come right down the side here gently, keeping my strokes random, lifting off the page right down into this black area, and then stopping. Okay, see how he's got like a little bit of a gradient there? See how we're starting to create some depth? Now I'm going to do that again, but I'm going to be conscious about what I'm doing. So see in here how it's a little sparse? I'm going to add some more 90% gray there, but I don't want to just overwhelm this area. I'm actually taking my strokes the opposite way just to kind of fill in some of the white spots that were here that were kind of left, but I'm doing it very, very light, and I'm randomizing my strokes, a little bit of a back and forth. As I come up into the forehead, I'm doing it lighter and more spaced apart so we don't have such a solid color. So I'll do that going across this way. I'm just kind of adding some more depth in here. I noticed that it was just not quite right when I looked at it. So you do need to take breaks. You do need to look at your work, see where you are, see where you need to add something to blur a line. And of course it all takes time, right, and practice. So it's not going to be perfect right away. So there. I like that much better. That looks much better. I could even just even go right in here and add a little bit more. I stop, I take a look, see what I think. I'm here just a tad, but again, light, kind of just glazing. And then over here, just kind of glazing in my color. There. How sweet is that? So now I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to actually put some here. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, one of the things you want to be careful of is as we're creating our artwork, as we're doing these first strokes, things can get a little wacky. So sometimes you'll notice that maybe, and you can see it here on mine, see how this white area, this shape, is much smaller than this shape? So if you have an exaggeration like that, you can try to correct it. So one of the ways you can do is just bring your strokes down and close this area a little more. To try to make it match the shape better. And it happens a lot. Sometimes it's not drawn quite right when we start, so we'll have things happen that way. If it's not too bad, don't worry about it. You know, if it's not a real bad difference, but if it's really something you notice and you dislike, go ahead and adjust it. Go ahead and go back in and find the right color you need and go ahead and adjust it. This shape is bigger than this white shape, so I could do one of two things. I could try to erase this out and make it wider, or I can try to beef this up, which is what I'm going to do, because to try to erase out pencil after we've layered it a few times can be difficult. But just a couple well-placed strokes is all it really takes to kind of bring it back. And I'm not going to worry about it the rest too much. So on a whole, it looks pretty good. But you do want to watch those areas and try to fix anything that might be happening that way. Okay, so with our 90% gray, we still have that in our hand. We're just going to go ahead and go right under the chin here, darken up. Whoop. I'm actually going to outline this just so I don't lose it. Right there. We're just going to darken this up, the little neck area. What we did before. So I'm just filling this in. Same strokes, just layering some more color on top of the violet blue. And again, as we come down, we lighten our strokes because we don't want it just to be a solid line. We want to create that kind of gradient, and we space them out more so they're not as close together. Now I like to let some of the blues and stuff still peek through. I don't cover them completely because I love that. So depending on your preference, you can let some of the blues still come through. If you've lost too much of the blue and you want some back, just get your blue violet pencil and put some back in there. So just like that. Now you can see right here I'm starting to get a line. So what I want to do is I just want to break it a little bit, put a couple of my darker colors in here, but then I'm going to switch back over to my warm gray and just start putting some more of that in because I don't want that whole area dark. So now I'm going to switch back to my warm gray, my 30%, and down here I'm just going to start bringing this up into here and going over that line a little bit and beefing up my fuzziness down here around the legs and stuff. So adding more of this warm gray to this area. Filling in some of those white areas a bit. Still not, still using my strokes, going in the same direction I had the fur going before, but adding to it. And then I stop, take a look, see where you need to fix anything. We just don't want to see all those real hard lines in there. It should be a soft, fuzzy feel to it. You'll notice my pencil isn't really sharp. I'm not really worried about it being super sharp right now. That'll be kind of at the end with a lot of the detail work. But if you want to sharpen your pencil, go for it. I do often work with sharper points. But when I'm doing something like this, where I'm just trying to kind of fill in some of the body, I like a blunter end. See how he's getting a little full? He's getting a little fuzzier. I just don't want to color him in though. We still want that fur texture. So we still need to do these strokes, these random strokes. Different directions. Otherwise, if we just colored him, he'd be smooth and flat and it wouldn't look right because he's a furry animal. That's what we love about our raccoons. All that fuzziness, the cuteness. You just want to reach out and pet them, hug them. And that's what we want to give our little character here, that huggable feel. So cute. Oh, just love this. It's so adorable. Okay, so once we do that, let's switch back to our black. So nice, let's sharpen our point, get a nice sharp point We're going to do our nose, and we're going to get some black around the ears and eyes and tail. All right. So, sharp, sharp point. So now we're going to outline our nose. Let's get that colored in. Okay. So again, we don't want to color our highlight. So outline our highlight, and then nice small circles around the perimeter. And we're going to do the same thing that we did with the eyes. As we come in towards the nose, we're going to soften our pressure and keep that little bit of a highlight on our nose so it looks dimensional, so it looks like it's coming off of the page. So I'm going much softer as I come out from the sides. I'm softening my pressure and just kind of gliding over the center section. I can do the same thing on this side. I'm working small here, so take your time. Small circles around the top. This is going to be nice and dark around the top. Okay. Small little circles. We don't want it to look outlined. That's why we add a little depth to it. We add circles because we don't want it just outlined. It'll look like a coloring book. So as we come out, we just soften our pressure. We're trying to get that real nice gradient look. Now, here's a little trick. Let me finish this and I'll show you. Let's say you just have a heavy hand and it takes practice. It'll take time to loosen your grip. So you have a hard time coming out and softening your grip, and the whole nose just looks flat rather than a little bit of a highlight to it. What you can do is take your white, get it nice and sharp. Take your white and very lightly, get a nice sharp tip, very lightly, start in the center, just lightly kind of make small circles in the middle here, go over it a couple times, and you can lighten this area back up. So if you got it too dark, just go slow though, because otherwise you'll just create a white spot and then you'll have a hard line around that. See how that just kind of lightens it up a little bit, and you can soften any, you're putting back that highlight that you may have lost, that mid-tone. So just like that. You can do that on the eyes too. If you feel like you've lost some lightness in the eyes, start around your white reflection spot and just small circles, very light pressure, just kind of go around it and create that mid-tone. Put that mid-tone back in just a little bit. You don't need a lot. So we can do that here. Put a little bit of lightness back into that eye. It just makes it look more like a ball, gives it more dimension. Again, light strokes. I'm not pressing hard, and then take a look and see what you think. If you do too much white, the beauty is you can go back in with your other colors and darken it. So you can do this for a little bit. There will come a point where you lose the tooth of the paper. You won't be able to do that anymore. So do be careful, but you do have some time here, some play. As long as you don't press too hard right away. So there, that is adorable. I just love this little guy. Okay. So now we are going to add some black back around our eyes. We've got that nice sharp point. We're going to go around our ears and our eyes, up the nose the same way, and we're going to do the tail. So again, we're going to start here. Now, I am going to use a little more pressure. I want it pretty dark here. But as I come up, again, I'm not just getting rid of all the blue. I'm letting some of that violet blue peek through. But I'm definitely adding these darker strokes, but I am spacing them out as I come up, lightening my pressure as I come up the middle of this stripe. Okay, just like that. I'm going to do that around these eyes. So I'm going to start in this black line here, and I'm going to really build up some dark fur around this eye. I don't want to do it everywhere because I want this to look like it's inside the head, like the, you know, like it's in our head, not sitting outside of it. So how I do that, how I recess it, is adding some darkness around it. Keeping a lighter color on the outside of this will make it seem like it's set back. So even though this is like a cartoon character, we can get quite a bit of realistic depth with it, so that it actually does look like a little furry animal. So I'm going to come down here, add some around here. And just keep coming up and around the eye. My strokes follow the eye. Just kind of, what I'm doing is starting on the inside in a little curve. I'm just doing a little curve to either the right or left side as I come around the eye. Because think about it, the fur would come out and around, right? So we curve it slightly. We don't want a straight stroke. We have to think about the body parts, the anatomy. Keep it random. We don't want to create just a line around the eye. So make sure you break through that. But you can see how, look how this is getting set back. It's exactly what we want. So we do that, and then we do the other side the same way. There. Love it. So now we're going to do this side. Okay, so once you do that, we're going to leave around the eyes. We're going to leave it alone, but I do want to bring some up in here, some black. So from the eye that we just did, I am going to connect it. So starting there and coming up, but I don't want to do here and I don't want to do here. Okay, I want to keep that lighter. But I'm going to darken his little stripe here. Adorable. Do the same thing on this side. Connect it here. So bring this up. Bring it up into the stripe. So cute. Okay. Now I am going to do right over here on this side, I'm going to darken this up in black. If you need to sharpen your pencil, go ahead, because this is where we're starting to get some of those details. It's very important that at this point you lift your pencil so we get a nice tapered fur tip, I mean. But I am going to darken this, and I'm going to come around this cheek right in here. As I come in, I'm lightening my stroke. I don't want to make it all black. I want to keep some of these variations, these highlights and lowlights. But I'm definitely darkening up around the edge here. Creating that fuzziness. How cute. I'm going to come right down into this white area, right up under the eye. Okay, now if you have any lines, just soften them a little bit with lighter strokes going right up into that gray, but don't make it all one color. Just remember that. We want to keep that gradient going. Again, if you realize you got it too dark, use your white pencil and go back in and lighten it. So you would take a sharp white, right? And you would just start in the middle and kind of work your way out to kind of lighten any areas that maybe if you've got a line you can't seem to break, use your white. Just softly, sparingly. You don't need a lot of it. And then we're going to do the same exact thing on the other side. So start over here near the ear, and we're going to add some black. You know what? I'm going to sharpen my pencil. It's time. Okay. We'll start here. We're just going to put this in. I forgot this. Okay, now the other thing I want to do is I want to do the neck. So let's go down here and add nice sharp black. Let's add some nice furry strokes coming off of the neck here out into the background, and add some of that darkness right under the neck, and again bring it down like we did the grays, but not the whole body. Remember, keep that gradient going. So we're just going to bring it down a little bit down into here, and then soften your pressure and kind of start to blend it into the rest of the body. When you do a little bit, stop, take a look, see where you need to add. Okay? See how cute? Now I'm taking the black, I'm kind of coming around the legs and stuff too. Not doing it really dark. I just want to create a little bit of, I'm just adding just a little bit of color to the body, kind of bringing in some of the black strokes with the rest of the body. He shouldn't feel disconnected, right? All the colors should kind of go. So I'm going to stop there. I know I have some harshness here, but I'll fix that in a minute. But what I do want to do is right down here at the legs, I want to put a little black in here, give it a little depth. Right? Just around there. Kind of bringing it up a little bit, and same over here. Just making sure we don't lose those little spots. Now I am going to do some black in here. So I'm going to start my strokes coming around this hind end here, this leg. I'm just kind of giving it a little definition with the black, just like that. As I come around, I'm going to soften it and kind of go right into the body, and then I'm going to add just a little bit here to this side. I'm bringing my strokes, again, we don't want that outline, so I'm just blending into the fur with some black. I'm softening my strokes, my touch, so it's not as dark, and just kind of, I like to call it like blurring right into the fur. I'm just kind of boop, blurring it in. So I start here, it's got a little more definition, but as I come down and around, I'm thinking, okay, it's getting softer. It's just kind of going away. I'm like glazing the fur here with some black. See, like that? So I'll do that going all the way around this spot. A little darker here, where I want it to kind of, what I want is for this spot to be in front of this. So I'm darkening it to create that shadow, as if there was a shadow here, so that it pops out. So it's separate from this part of the body. So hopefully that makes sense. And I'm going to come right down around the bottom here, and as I come down to the bottom, I want to create a shadow because now it's sitting on the ground. So tiny bit of a shadow down here. We want to differentiate it from the ground like that. Then I go back and I work this into the fur. But my strokes are softer now. They're much lighter. They're more spread apart as I come up into this leg. Or hind end. So my touch is much softer. So I'm creating that gradient again, that dark to light, which gives it a three-dimensional look. Now I am working rather quickly, but if you need to pause the video and slow down, please do so. Colored pencil is a patient medium. That means you need to take your time to do it right. It can be very zen too. So see how as I get to the middle, I'm really spreading out my strokes? Very, very light, because I don't want to create any hard lines. I'm making them very random. Sorry about my dog. So I see some spots up in here that I'm going to fix, and we'll do that in a minute. But while we still have our black, let's get our tail put in. Same thing, nice sharp black. We're just going to start building these nice dark strokes in here. The tail is pretty much black, the stripes, so I'm not too worried. I'm keeping some grays coming through, but not too worried about keeping it real light or anything. What I do want to do though is these spots I want to keep almost like a highlight, so darker around the edges, lighter as we get towards the middle, just because I want it to have that three-dimensional look. Now here I'm definitely going to get some nice long strokes right up into that background. Again, lifting that pencil random and right down here onto the ground. Nice and dark. I'm using a pretty good pressure, probably a 4. And as I come towards the middle, I will again loosen that, lighten that pressure. Connecting the tail right here along the bottom, just like that. And I'm stacking my fur, so there's some up here like this, and then here, so it's kind of like on top of each other. Again, if you get the center area too dark, take your white and put some pretty bold white strokes in there. So don't worry about it too much. All right, there's always ways to fix things. You can even use an eraser and pull strokes out. Look at that nice fluffy tail. I love it. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing up here. I'm going to sharpen my pencil again though, because my tip is dull. Even though it looks sharp, it's dull. I want those really nice tapered strokes for that fur. Okay, so nice sharp pencil. Start here, lift my pencil up, getting this outside part in. Nice. I like to do that first because my pencil's sharp, so I like to get my strokes in that are going to be on the outside and down here, so that they look nice and sharp and tapered. Then I like to go back and kind of fill these in once I've done that. Again, I'm keeping it a little lighter in the center here. So adorbs. Really, really cute. If you want, you can throw a random one in here. I don't like this right here. This is from when we painted, so I'm going to stroke that right out. Create some softness in there. It looked too blunt. There. That's better. Okay, now we're going to do the tip. I don't want to take all the brown out, so I'm going to start here. And I'm just going to work up a little bit, right up into the brown, but I'm keeping some of the brown peeking through. I like it. I don't want it all black. If you want your tip all black, then do that. It's your little critter. Just like so. So cute. Okay, so now we need to do the ears the same way. So I am going to again sharpen my pencil, get a nice sharp point, and I'm going to go around each ear. Okay, so I'm going to start here and just again work my way around, getting those really nice soft tapered furs around that outside. Giving him a couple little sweet little fuzzies there. And I'm going to come around this way. going right up into this dark area here. I'm going right up into the brown a little bit, bringing this down. I'm going to bring a piece of fur this way and that way, keeping them random, and I'm going to work into the brown just a bit. I just want to bring these together on this bottom side, not on the top side, just this bottom side. So go ahead. If you need to put a couple lighter strokes in here to kind of blend it, do that, but don't make the whole ear black. Keep your highlights. Okay, there. And then do the other side the same way. So we're going to start right here. I'm going to work my way around. I like to put my little points here around the ears, so I get those in. My deliberate pieces of fur I put in. Work around them. Then I'm going to come down this way. And now as I come in here, I'm going to thicken this up, go right into that brown, the underside of the ear. I don't want to remove the brown, but I do want to connect them to each other. So just like so. Add some fur in here. Lighter strokes, blending it. There you go. Okay, now is when we analyze. We look at our critter. What can we fix? What can we do differently? How do we create more softness? So what I want to do is I'm going to go back into this forehead. Do you see the line from where we drew it? And where that watercolor pencil was? I want to not erase it, but I want to eliminate that. So between my white and my warm gray, I'm going to sharpen my warm gray, sharpen my white, and I'm going to use both of these pencils along the top here. So at the very top, I'm going to add some white, and you may not see it, but it's going to soften some of these strokes, and it's going to help erase or blur out that line we drew in. So I can go ahead and add some white. I am using a pretty good pressure, so probably a 3, and I'm just going to add some white in here. Now be careful you don't lose your gradient that you worked so hard to get before. So all I'm trying to do is get rid of this line a little bit. Okay. And I also want to, you can clean your tip with a paper towel. Just wipe it. You might need to do that a lot. I want to go right into this area, and I'm going to add white. And I'm going to push outward hard as I'm doing this into that brown. But I don't want to eliminate the brown. I'm just softening the edges. So this is white inside. If you get some of the brown on your pencil, that's okay. Wipe it on your paper towel and go back. Start from the inside, push hard, and work your way around the inside of the ear. We're just really softening and blurring this line. Always work from in to the outside. Work in random strokes. Okay, see how soft that looks now compared to this one? So that's the idea. So now if you get too many, like it's too much of a line, just put some random white strokes in there, like that. So now we're going to do it on this side. Start in the middle and work your way out. Wipe your pencil as you need to if you're getting too much color deposited in the center. Wipe that tip off. Push hard and soften that line. Work your way around the inside of the ear. I'm using probably a 5 pressure at this point. I really want to get this soft in here. Okay? And then the same thing, we're going to do the same thing in these white areas. Same strokes. So start on the inside and work your way out. Clean your pencil if you need to. See that? See how it deposits strokes? And sharpen it as you need to. So, get rid of that. And then work my way up and around. And I always keep a paper towel handy to get rid of the deposits. You have to be very careful at this point. So I'm just putting some pressure in here to get rid of what I put on with the strokes that lifted some of the color. And I just want to, I don't know if you can see, but I'm just trying to create a softness here around this eye. We can go back in and add black, so it's not a big deal if it's not what you want right away. So we're just trying to break this perimeter a bit. If you get too much of a deposit, run your pencil over it hard, like that, okay? And then do the same here. Creating this middle. The reason why I do this is, yeah, you can leave it the white of your paper, but I like to create these soft spots along the edges, and white really isn't white. It always has some color to it, usually gray. So I don't necessarily always like to leave it the white of the paper. It feels unfinished sometimes, depending on the subject. So I'm just blurring these lines. I'm going to go back with some black and puncture back through those again. I just want to kind of clean this up and get some color, some tone on here. You can see how it's not the white of the paper. There's some color in the white. So that's my goal. Puncture this, soften this line in here, clean your pencil. Okay, just like that. Again, same thing down here in all of these areas. Same process. Now, this area right here, I'm just kind of rubbing up and down. I am letting some of that black blur into my white. I'm wiping my pencil, and I'm really just doing circles down here. I'm getting some of this color on here. I'm breaking through these lines, and then down here around this edge, I'm just kind of doing a little fuzzy kind of feel to it, a little fur feel. Okay, same with the tail. Just gonna kind of up in here, down here, and then I'm gonna clean my thing to do the centers my pencil. Okay, so cleaning my pencil tip, and then I'm just doing the middle. Just kind of circling the middle here. Like that, and then I have to do this one. So clean my, I've lost my tip, but that's okay because it right here I'm just kind of scrubbing it back and forth, so not too worried about having my tip nice and clean. Okay, so very, very cute. The only part I don't do the white is right in here. I keep that the color of the paper. So now you're like, well, I lost a lot of my fur tips. I don't know if I like that. That's okay. We're going to take our warm gray, and up in here we're just going to make our stroke. We're going to put some more strokes in because this really wasn't done anyway. Now we don't want to go down in here too much because we have a nice gradient there, but we do want to meet those up. So we're just going to kind of get some of these little strokes back in. I've got a nice sharp warm gray pencil, and I'm just kind of filling in this area more. Keep an eye on your paper, your drawing. See where it needs to have some put in and some not. If you need to go back and use your black, go for it. This is like the finishing touches, so we're just kind of getting the details in. I like to put some in here, get some nice fur strokes going in there, meet this up. So I'm just kind of blending my whole head here, getting it all blended together, finishing him off. I do like to have a couple of these guys up here, super cute, just like so. Following your same strokes, the direction, I mean, it's the same direction for the fur. One of the things too you'll notice is this line is starting to disappear as we do this. The line where we drew the outline for the drawing. Okay, working some of this in here down into this darker color. I want to put a couple strokes here, push out a couple pieces of fur. So look how nice and full that looks now. Now if you feel like you lost some of your dark, just switch right back to your black and your dark gray, these two, and just go ahead and put a couple strokes in. Doesn't have to be, you might work on this for a while, and that's fine. These are the fun parts, the fun detail parts. So this is where it really starts to take effect. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of, where we blurred that line with the white, I'm pushing my strokes back in and I'm breaking that boundary again, creating that fur texture. Keeping it random. Remember, we don't want it to look like it's manicured. Super cute. I'm just going to take some of my black now, go right back in here, create some of these fur strokes. Darkening up this stripe just a bit. Coming back around the eyes because we did blur some of that out. I would switch back to my dark gray. I don't necessarily want this part black because we have the black around the eye itself, so I want to kind of keep that depth. So I'll switch back to my dark gray, punch this out, come around here and around here, and then I can switch back to my warm gray right here and get these punched out. Keep this lighter, because again, we want to create that depth, so we don't want it all one color. So I've got my lightest colors in the center, going out to my darkest colors around the edges, like that. And then I do want to do that up here with my warm gray. I want to bring the brown and connect it to this black edge. So I want to add some warm gray here and soften this and bring it right around this side, like that. See? And then do the same thing here. So I'm just kind of meeting these two edges up with my mid-tone. There. Keeping my brown, but adding this nice warm gray, which has a hint of brown tone to it. And again, if you want to create some fur in here, go for it. Okay? So cute. And I want to do, I'm switching back to black. I'm just going to touch up my stripes here. Punch back through that white. Again, sharp tips, because this is where we're getting these detail furs. So we don't want blunt edges to them. Okay, there. Really cute. And if you want, you can add just a touch more black up in here and coming around. But I would soften it just a bit. Soften your strokes, your pressure. This forehead may take a little time. You may have to do some back and forth with your colors to kind of get that look, that gradient. So take your time. Enjoy the process. It's pretty. It's fun. It's relaxing. No pressure. There. Take a look at it. Like right here, I can see I need just a little more, very light. I need a little more mid-tone right here. Yeah, cute. Now, one of the things we didn't do yet is right in here and around these edges, right? So I'm going to switch to my 90% gray. I'm going to get a nice sharp tip on it, and I'm just going to put some small pieces of fur in there just to soften those so it doesn't look like a line where the drawing is. So I'm going to start here, and I'm just going to gently put some fur in here. See that? Just putting the tiny little strokes in there and coming around the nose. I'm going to do that on this side too. Just like that. Just kind of taking that line out a little bit. I'm going to put a couple right here at the top of the nose. Blend in that brown a little bit. Okay. Then I'm going to take my warm gray, and right in between what I just did and the brown, I'm just going to add some warm gray strokes. So I'm blending the brown with the warm gray, pulling it all together like that. Now I'm going to switch back to my 90%, and I'm going to do the same thing around here. So I'm just kind of creating a softness in this line area. A little bit of a random back and forth. It's like we're just kind of creating a little shadow here to show that this is sticking out from this part of the face. Okay? That's the goal. Small strokes. Break in the barrier. Don't have them all lined up even. Just kind of giving a hint of fur in here. We know it's supposed to be white, but when there is a, space between objects, that's how we can kind of create that depth. So we create that shadow, and that's what we're doing. We're just saying, hey, there's a shadow here because one part of the body is up against another part of the body. One part's forward, one part's recessed, so I want to show that. I want to show so that they don't all look flat. And that's what you're doing. I hope that makes sense. I think that's one of the hardest things for people to grasp when they're drawing and understand. And then I am going to just do this around this edge, even though there's no shadow here. This is the background and this is just itself. I don't want that edge. So you know what? Actually, I'm going to switch to the 30% warm gray just so it's not as dark. And I'm just going to add some strokes along that bottom edge. Okay, so we'll just come in here and I'm just going to create that softness right here. And if you want, you can do the 30% warm gray and in these areas too, if you like that better. That's fine. Just softening this. And then over here, we're just softening it, making him look super, super fuzzy, super huggable, giving him so much character. Just falling in love with this guy. And then here where we outlined, I'm going to soften that. I'm just going to go right around this edge. I'm kind of using a back and forth motion. Just want to take some of that darkness out. And I'm going to do that in here. This is recessed behind this, but in front of these. So I just want to give it some color to show that it's a different part of the body. So there. It's got a shadow from this upper part. There we go. Oh my gosh, look at this guy. Love. The last thing I'm going to do, well, a couple of the last things. I'm going back to my 90% gray. And right under these eyes, I'm just putting some, I'm starting right in the eye and pulling down and giving it a little fuzziness under here. So it looks like fur, and I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm just going to pull it right down into this area. So cute. Okay, I will continue to work around my edges, just kind of softening it so it doesn't look like so many just lines, but I don't need to keep you guys on the video for that. You are more than welcome to do that as well. If you don't, if it gets too hard and you don't like how dark it is, take your white and just go over it, soften it, make it look fuzzier. So a little bit of a back and forth. Now we do have to finish the tail, so let's go back to our black, okay, and let's punch these lines back out. So we want nice strokes. I'm starting inside here where it's darker and working my way up into the background and into this white. Remember, we created that nice soft white area right up into my background. I'm just beefing up the tail, making it look really nice and thick and fuzzy, punching that barrier, getting rid of that. We don't want lines. If it gets dull, let's sharpen it again. We want to keep it nice and sharp and tapered. softening a little bit in the center here, in this area, but darkening as I come around the edges. If you get it too dark, use your white in here. So I can come back with a sharp white, real sharp. Okay, real sharp white, and I can just come in and add some lightness. I'm not pressing hard, I'm just doing some strokes in here. Just lightens it up just a bit. Okay, now you'll notice one thing. You notice how this line here, and this is all nice and fuzzy, but these have lines. I use the 30% gray, and I lightly, very, very lightly, take my edge out and create some fuzz here. Just to kind of break that line and meet this area up. This area does not have to be pure white. So, I'm going to follow these strokes here. So starting down here, and I'm just breaking this barrier right into that background, creating that fuzzy tail. And then I'll do the same up here, kind of meeting these guys up. Like that. There. And then I'm going to switch back to my black and do the same thing here. Make sure it's nice and sharp. Create those strokes. I like the tails to be a little crazy, a little wild, so they're a little more expressive. I don't like this right here. I don't feel like it's fat enough, so I'm going to take my white and blur this out. Create some fatness to my tail here. I'm really using hard pressure. So there, I've got this connected better. And then I can go back to my, actually I'm going to take my white, I'm going to clean my tip and just make this a little more white in here. Really, really pushing hard. Trying not to pick up any color from any of the pencil around me. And now I can go and kind of define this just a bit right here. Pull this out like that. And then I can go back and do my black over it. There, that's better. I like that much better. Okay, so we got this up here, and then I'll do just this little bit. I don't want to get rid of my brown. Put a couple crazy pieces there. A couple crazy ones. There. I like some randomness. Okay, excellent. Couple more things we're going to do, and then we'll be done, and you guys can do as much or as little more as you want. We have to put the whiskers in, so you can, our background isn't super dark, so I wouldn't really recommend white. I would do black. If your background was a little bit dark, or if your background's darker, you might be able to get away with doing some white. And you're going to take your white pencil, if you were to do that, and you're really going to get a nice sharp point, and you're going to do that real hard, because white doesn't necessarily show up great on top of colored pencil. There are certain papers and things that you can do to get white to show up, but not necessarily on this paper. It's really hard to get white, pure white, to come through. So I'm going to use black, or you can even use, actually I'm going to use the 90% gray, because I don't necessarily want it black. I don't want it to be in your face. I've got a nice sharp point on it, and I'm going to start, and what you want to do is you want to do it all in one stroke, and you want to lift, just like we did the fur, right? So, like that. So start in here, follow the lines, and lift. And it doesn't have to be perfect. just like that. Look how adorable that is. Okay. Now, the other thing you can do is you can go through, add some brown. Like I really want to put some more sienna brown in here in my ears. I just want to beef this up because it's pretty. So you could do that. You could add a little more brown to your tail. You can add a touch of brown. My eyes are pretty blue, but I want to add a little more brown to my eyes. So I'm just going to kind of glaze over the blue. You can continue to work on your whites and your blacks. But one of the things I do want to do is I want to go back to my my watercolor pencils, and I want to take that gray, and I want to add some shadows down here. So I would just small circles. You could even use your colored pencil if you want. Totally up to you. I'm not going to wet this again. I'm just adding the shadow in here. I want to really ground him to the floor. So kind of back here under the tail. I didn't want to use black. Black is very, very harsh, but see how the tail's going to cast a little bit of a shadow. So I'm just going to bring this out a little bit like that, as if the tail were creating a shadow from the sun. And then I'm just going to come around very softly towards the front and create some shadow in here. His head's going to create a little bit of a shadow. Not much, just a bit. More darker near the feet where they touch the ground, and the body here. I'm working right up into the fur to create that, softening this edge because it's the ground, just like that. Just bringing this out, and then I'm going to switch to my other colors that I used and add some of that. So I've got that. Now I'm going to go back to some of this, the yellows and stuff, and kind of blur this in. So I'm going to add that. So I'm just darkening up the ground here that we did earlier in our drawing. And like I said, if you want, you can add water to it and soften it. Completely up to you. As I come out, doing a much softer touch, but I really like how that added some ground to it. Okay, and that's it, you guys. Thank you so much for drawing with me today. If you have any questions or need any help at all, please go to the Facebook Brush Baby group page and ask away. We have myself and other members that are on there that can help you. You can also send me an email and I will get back to you. I'm also on Messenger, so you can also send me a message. Please upload your pencil pail. I'd love to see what you did. Love to see your creative colors and exploration. It's really fun for me, as well as our other members, and you might get picked as the member of the month, which means you get a special discount on future products, and you get featured on the webpage, so that's always fun too. Thank you so much. Look at how cute. He really turned out adorable. I'm really, really glad that you painted along with me and drew our little raccoon. Don't forget to sign it. And please remember that this is my design. You are welcome to do as many as you'd like, but you cannot sell them. Please give them away to friends, family, however you want to do that, but don't sell or copy the image and say it's yours. I'd appreciate that. If you are going to upload your images to Facebook, please tag tag my page back just to give me some credit. And other than that, I will hope to see you again. I have lots of other pencil pails that are coming, so lots of fun for us, and I can't wait to draw and paint with you again. Thank you. Have a great day.